Good evening, my dear students. You all warmly welcome for the third lecture of this English medium lecture series on principles of psychology and sociology. And as well as in last week, we have started the second lesson. That means actually second lesson. It is based on simply what I was discussed in that was like behavioral theory, as well as I have explained some defense mechanism which can be used to reduce the anxiety created as a result of id and superego. And so therefore, I don't want to recall it further, but I would like to a small recap on the lesson on second lesson what we have already discussed. So in addition to that, I have provided you a supplementary document which covered the defense mechanism in psychology, plus as well as in the same handout I have included the five according to Sigmund Freud, he has stated that a person's personality developed mainly through five stages. So therefore, in that five stages also elaborated in this supplementary document, in addition to defense mechanism. And I have explained what is meant by defense mechanism and why. So there are different, I think around 9 defense mechanisms I have discussed with you. And in addition to that, I have shown you a single video as well. Have I done it? Have I done it? Have I discussed with you? Because I don't know whether the students who came for the today's lecture don't know whether they have participated for the lesson number 2. But I believe that they have listened to the recording at least. And in that session, I have discussed with you some few I will show you. I will show you the things what we have the PowerPoint presentations what we have discussed on that day. Wait. Yeah. So when we are referring this presentation, like initially I have said what is meant by defense mechanism, and what is the reason for using this defense mechanism, because අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනකොට සංරක්ෂණ ප්‍රයෝග කියන. අපි කියනවා සංරක්ෂණ ප්‍රයෝග අපිට භාවිතා කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ because of that, because there is an imbalance between id and super ego. And I can remember I have asked from you, is it necessary from my end to explain these things in Sinhala as well? But however, I can remember one student said it's better to speak to explain all the information in English because there are some students, they could not be able to understand Sinhala. So therefore, see, these defense mechanism, when we take a person, actually these defense mechanism are used by a person without unconsciously. Actually, they are not purposely use this defense mechanism, but they are unconsciously use this defense mechanism. The reason for using this defense mechanism is because there is an imbalance between id and superego. Because it is the selfish part of a personality, and superego, it always try to based on the moral principle, and always try to be a perfect person, always try to be an ideal person, so the exemplary person. So therefore, when some phenomenon happens, always like, let's say, when it come with selfish needs, let's say now it part of the personality is pushing you to eat in the classroom, but superego part of your personality stressing not to eat because it is not socially accepted. So that's in that situation, there are two different demands come from at the same time, but actually those are contradictory, totally different. So therefore, the mediator in between the personality, in between id and superego is ego. Ego is the rational part, it based on the reality principle. So ego, what it try to do is try to balance these different two demands which are already contradictory. So therefore, when ego try to satisfy its need in a socially accepted way, then a particular person is unconsciously use this defense mechanism. So I have explained 9 defense mechanism. Actually, at the same time, in the supplementary document also, I have given some example as well. So the meaning of providing this supplementary document is not to teach you A to Z, but in addition to this PowerPoint presentation, I believe referring that document will be really benefit. You can get different benefits, as it is an extra handout which I provided to give a very good idea about this defense mechanism. So therefore, this defense mechanism like the repression, then asceticism, then sublimation, projection, identification, displacement, regression, denial, likewise, I have explained. At the same time, in the supplementary document also, I have discussed with you. Okay, I have discussed with you. So in the supplementary document also, the supplementary document which I have provided here, I explain so different defense mechanism and the description, that means the very small introduction about each mechanism separately. In addition to that, I have provided some example for each and every defense mechanism, and then later on, then 10 defense mechanism, like the again example, and again the introduction as well an example for each, and specifically I have given. Then I can remember this is the place where I stopped, like explaining final reaction formation, then that means introjection. So then, so this is the topic what we have to start today, Sigmund Freud stages of human development. That means basically the 5 psychosexual stages of development by age, because Sigmund Freud believe a person's personality is developed with the passing of the time, that means with the age, and this. So therefore, the considering or pay attention for these 5 ages. So as an adult. So when we have kid or when we have a child, actually we have as an adult, we have set of responsibilities towards a child personality. So therefore, as an adult, we should know what kind of changes happen in the different stages, as well as what kind of responsibilities we have towards that certain person. So therefore, in addressing to that issue, in addressing, in order to support a child to develop his or her personality, as an adult, what kind of support can be given to that person? This psychosexual the knowledge on the psychosexual model is somewhat very, very important for you. At the same time, I would like to tell you that Sigmund Freud, what he said, like he said, this psychoanalytical teaching. So in his these model psychosexual 5 psychosexual stages, he concerned with how personality develop through this model, how personality develop through passing these 5 stages. Okay, let's try to discuss one by one. First one is oral stage. That means අපි කියන සිංහලෙන් මුඛාවදිය කියලා. That means simply after a small infant born into this world, he or she try to satisfy his or her needs with the support of his mouth by sucking or like eating, like that kind of thing. So let's try to learn one by one. And anal stage mean through anal, the particular child try to get satisfaction. Then the phallic stage, latent stage, and genital stage. Likewise, there are 5 main stages are there. Okay. Then in oral stage, like between birth, 18 months to 2 years period, normally we believe that a child comes under oral stages in between birth to 18 months. 18 months mean 1.5 years or maximum 2 years period. So a child way of seeking satisfaction is through the mouth. Always try to get the satisfaction through the mouth. So the best example is, my dear student, when a child or an infant want to drink some milk from he saw her mother, what he drew is he is shouting and crying. Through mouth, he tried to satisfy his seeking satisfaction through mouth because he can't talk, he can't walk. So therefore, mouth is the only area where he or she try to get the satisfaction. So as a mother, we should know, like in another example, I don't know whether you have noted when you have seen a child or infant, sometimes they are sucking their um, fingers, or sometimes they are biting their nails. So during that period, that most of the doctors or um, doctors, what they said is uh, don't push your child not to eat, not to suck fingers, not to bite their nails. Why? Because it is the only area where he or she can satisfy or seeking satisfaction. Because the mouth is the only satisfaction area where he or she pay attention during that time period. So therefore, the පුංචි කාලේ අපි ඇඟිලි උරනකොට ළමයින්ගේ ඇඟිලි වලට මේස් දානවා, ගැට ගහනවා. ඒ වගේම ඇඟේ නියපොතු කනකොට අපි ඒ දරුවන්ට ගහනවා. So that kind of thing should not be good, because doctor has said when we are opposing, when they try to get the satisfaction through their mouth, when they are opposing, definitely it is badly affected for their personality development. Okay, so we should let them to do it, because that is the only area where he or she can use to release their stress. So as an adult, so our responsibility towards that during that age for personality development is don't when child is crying or infant is crying for milk, always we should give sufficient milk. That's why my dear student, now even though a midwife or doctors or nurses, now they strictly advise like please give milk, like please give milk like maximum 2 years period. So in ancient time it was like 6 months period, but now it's 2 years period. Why? Now doctors have realized the importance of letting child or infant to drink milk from their parents or from their mother, or a through the milk bottle is really needed for their personality development. I think you get my point. Okay, I'll show you a video later. Then the second stage is anal stage, like 2 to 3 years period. Normally we call it at Payuka stage. So the discomfort, because discomfort felt due to the digestion of obtained food is avoided by defecation. Because during that period, like in age between 2 to 4 years after having breastfeeding, after drinking milk from his or her mother, then they start to eat. අවුරුද්දකින් පස්සේනේ ඝන ආහාර දෙන්නේ. So when they are eating solid foods, actually it's difficult for them to digest. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඝන ආහාර කනකොට ඒවා දිරවන්න හරි අපහසුයි. So therefore, when it's really hard to digest those solid foods, what they try to do is they try to get the satisfaction. They try to get the satisfaction by releasing poop and piss during that period. Okay, so therefore, and during that anal stage, the discomfort felt due to the digestion of the obtained food avoided by defecation. So therefore, during that period, because a child tried to get the satisfaction through releasing or removing the poop. The poop mean like poop. අපි කියන්නේ කක්කි රිලීස් කරලා චූ දාලා තමයි ළමයි satisfaction එක ගන්න. ඒතර ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ satisfaction area එක වෙන්නේ ගුදය කියන ප්‍රදේශය. So during that period, as an adults, what we should do is that is the best age where we can teach So during that period, a child try to satisfy, like as an adult, what we can do during that period is we can train a child for that means potty training, toilet training can be teach, because they know as an adult we should tell that you have to release your poop or pees in the toilet or a potty, in a potty, or you have to sit on a potty and you have to release them. So that is the age where we can train toilet training, the teach toilet training. So therefore, as an adults, we should not let our child to put poop and piss at any place what they like. Okay, because since they are very conscious about releasing poop and piss, then they know they we should, as an adult, we should teach them the proper place, the proper way of doing it. First one is toilet training. At the same time, the second responsibility towards that during that stage is we can teach cleanliness as well, because child in age between 2 to 4 years, they know that releasing poop and piss, that means they don't like for poop and piss. They know it's somewhat very dirty things. So therefore, we can teach cleanliness. Okay, so we can teach this is the way you have to remove your panty, this is the way you have to remove your pamper, and this is the way you have to sit on a potty. This is the way you have to release your poop and piss. So likewise, we can teach the cleanliness. So after releasing poop and piss, you have to wash that area with soap. It is really important. This is the way you have to do it. This is the way you have to wipe that area. This is the way you have to wipe your hands. Likewise, that cleanliness can be taught during that period. So first one is toilet training. Second one is cleanliness. Then third important point, what we can focus on during that age is, actually those are not in your slide, Pute. So try to write down toilet training, cleanliness. Those are the things as an adult what we can do during that period. So third one is the third one is we can teach during that period generosity. Simply the generosity means during that age, children or a child does not like to give what the other person is requested. So when we ask their book, they never give it, because during that period they never give what the other person asks. So therefore, during that period, because when we are pushing the child or a child to release the poop and piss as soon as they can, like let's say their parents are dual career couples, those they want to go work. So therefore, what we do is we early in the morning we keep our child on a potty and we are pushing them to release poop and piss as soon as they can. So during that period, we should know that they are the main quality is not to give what the other person is requested. So therefore, what they do is they never release poop and piss and keep it inside their body and not to give what the other person asks. So therefore, we should not, as an adult, we should not push child to put poop and piss as soon as they can. So what we can do it, we can provide reasonable time for them to do that task. We can get up, we can ask them to get up early in the morning, and we should provide sufficient time for them to release their poop and piss. It is really necessary. So when we do that kind of things, automatically they will go for generosity. Regular මසුරුකම කියන එකට පුරුදු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉල්ලන දේ නොදේන අවස්ථා අපි නොදී හිටියාම ඉල්ලන දේ නොදී ඉන්න නිසා ඒ කාලේදී අපි ඒවට අවස්ථා නොදී හිටීම තුළ, because during that period they are not generous, they are not give what the other person is requested. So therefore we should not give opportunity for them to be not to generous. So therefore, as an adult, we should not push them to or we should not hurry them to release their poop and piss as soon as they can. We should provide sufficient time for them to do it. Okay, write down. As an adult, what kind of responsibilities as an adult having towards a child who are in anal stage. who are in anal stage. Underline anal stage and write down in age between 2 to 4. Who are in anal stage. First one is, we can teach toilet training. We can teach toilet training. Second one is, we can teach cleanliness. By clearly showing the proper way of releasing poop and piss, or you poop and piss. And cleaning that anal area with soap. Third one is, we can teach generosity. We can teach generosity by not pushing, but we can teach generosity by not pushing them to release, poop and piss, by not pushing them to release poop and piss as soon as they can. As soon as they can. Since during that period, the main characteristic is not to give what the other person is requested. Then infants, infant stage, actually the very correct word for that is normally oral stage, then anal stage, then the other one is, third one is phallic stage. Actually, please reword that area, that the third age is phallic, PHALLIC. Phallic stage. Okay, phallic stage. So, then during this phallic stage, their sexual and aggressive feeling related to the functioning of gentle. So actually I'll explain these stages using the supplementary document which I have shared with you. I think it is somewhat very descriptive than this. So therefore, it's really important for you to refer that document. Let's refer that document. I think it's easy for you. Okay. Now, when we are referring that to 5 stages, like we know that Sigmund Freud, let's go from the beginning, like Sigmund Freud stages of human development. Actually, there's 5 psychosexual stages of development by age. So, according Sigmund Freud, he's a psychoanalyst. What he said that children go through a series of psychosexual stages. Okay, when we talk about the personal development, the children go through a series of psychosexual stages which lead to the development of the adult personality. Okay, so therefore, these a very good child. That means a child who is very so let's say if we want to have a very good personality, if we are seeking a child with a very good personality, so definitely the particular child has to go through a series of psychosexual stages that lead to the development of adult personality. So therefore, Sigmund Freud suggested these stages of human development. It consists with 5 stages, and as well as this is somewhat a very modern, this is a very famous theory which is applicable to in today's world as well. So Sigmund Freud believed that personality developed through a series of childhood stages in which the id pleasure-seeking energies become focused on certain erogenic area. So erogenous zone is the characteristic as an area of the body that is particularly sensitive to stimulation. That means simply the erogenous zone mean like that is like when we talk about oral stage, the erogenous zone is mouth. When we talk about anal stage, the erogenous zone is anal. Okay. So likewise, during the 5 psychosexual stages, the oral and the phallic, latent and gentle stages, the erogenous zone associated with each step serve as a source of pleasure. So it is the area where a person try to get consider as a source of pleasure. Like let's say when we talk about oral stage, the mouth is the source of pleasure. When we talk about anal stage, that area is a source of pleasure. So therefore, as an adult, we should provide the required facilities or support to get that pleasure or pleasure as much as the particular child can, because if we are not let them to get the pleasure from the erogenous zone, which are really important during that different stages, then what will happen automatically? The children will not be developed. Child's personality will not develop in a very positive manner. අපි වැඩිහිටිය විදියට එක එක්කෙනාගේ එරෝජිනියස් zone එකෙන් ඒ අයගේ තෘප්තිය ගන්න අවශ්‍ය පහසුකම් සම්පාදනය කරන්නට ඕනේ. උදේ හරහා ඒගොල්ලෝ තෘප්තිය ගන්නකොට අපි වැඩිහිටිය විදියට ඒගොල්ලන්ට හරිය টয়ලට් ට්‍රේනින් කියා දීලා, හරියට ක්ලීන් වෙන හැටි කියලා දීලා, ඊට පස්සේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නොමසුරු වෙන්න උදව් කරලා ඒ කටයුතු වලට දායක වීම තුළ අපිට හොඳ පෞරුෂයක් ඇති දරුවෙක් බිහි කරගන්න පුළුවන්. So that's why even though in ancient time the 6 months was sufficient during that oral for breast feeding, but now doctors and midwives strictly advise please give breastfeeding at least 2 years period. No, maximum 2 years period. It's really required. So after 2 years period, they advise to give the solid foods. So the psychoanalytical theory suggested that personality is mainly established by the age of 5. Okay. So psychoanalytical theory suggested that the personality is mainly established by the age of 5. අවුරුදු 5 වෙනකොට පුද්ගලයාගේ පෞරුෂය කියන දේ හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ. So early experiences play a significant role. Early experience mean like early experience mean before 5 years. Like that mean the oral stage and the anal stage is somewhat very critical. That mean please underline this. Early experience play a significant role mean like that mean anal and oral stage is somewhat very important. That is why it's telling. So therefore අපි කියන්නේ පළවෙනි අවුරුදු 5 තමයි දරුවෙක්ව හරටියක් හදන්න ඕනි කියලා දරුවව නිවැරදි මාර්ගයට ගන්න. So that's why we are telling that kind of declarations. So therefore early experiences play a significant role in personality development. and influence behavior later in life. And not only that, let's say some books they have said like a child who could not be able to get the pleasure through their mouth during that oral stage, what will happen in the later in their life, they go for smoking, they addict for different drugs, because even though since they could not be able to get the pleasure through from their mouth during the oral stage, when they become adult, they try to get that satisfaction through unnecessary mods. Okay, එක රිසර්ච් වලින් ඔප්පු වෙලා තියෙනවා වැඩිහිටි වෙලා උනකොට මේ දුම්මැටි වලට ඩ්‍රග්ස් වලට ඇබ්බැහි වෙච්ච අයගේ ඉතිහාසය බලනකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ පුංචි කාලේදී නිවැරදි ආකාරයෙන් මුඛය හරහා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ තෘප්තිය ලබා ගත්තේ නැති අය කියලා ප්‍රූව් වෙලා තියෙනවා. Not 100%, but for some extent. Okay. That is very true. So that's why we are telling as an adult, we should provide opportunity during that period, not only an oral stage, but the latent stage, dental stage, all stages, we have a set of responsibilities toward a child for their personality development. Hope you can understand what I'm telling. Is it clear for you, Pute? Is it clear for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Is it clear for you? Please tell me.
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm teaching to you.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. It's
madam.
clear.
Nafis, Takshila,
Yes, madam.
Nihara, is it
Yes,
clear for
ma'am.
you what I am teaching right now? Nafis, I can't hear you. Wait.
Of course. Can you hear me, miss?
Yeah, now it's yeah. Now I can hear you.
Hello.
Yes,
Hear
I can.
me?
Yes, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
okay, miss. Clear.
It's clear. Okay.
Clear.
Okay. Okay. So therefore, each stage of development is marked by conflict. That means in each stage of development, there are different conflicts can be happen. So as an adults, we can help our child to build or growth or change their different. We can change different situations, and we can help them to sort out their problem. So healthy personality is the result if these psychological stages are completed successfully. So please highlight this sentence as well, because a healthy personality is somewhat very important for each and every human being on this earth. So therefore, the healthy personality is created if a person is successfully completed all these psychosexual stages, all these 5 psychosexual stages. Okay, so actually infant or a child could not be able to successfully complete these stages, or not only infant or a child, like normally when they become age 12 also, when they come to puberty stage, as an adult, our support is very much needed for their personality development. So that's why this knowledge is important for you. Sometimes you may have children, sometimes you may not married, but your sisters or brothers have children, they may have children. So therefore, as since you know about this subject very well, so you can convey your thoughts and your knowledge to them when they are not doing these things for the development of their children, if they did not take the action for the personal development of their children or a child, you can tell, no, akka, no, sister, no, ayya, don't do it, because this is a psychologically proven act. So therefore, always try to support your child with the relevant action. If certain issues are not resolved appropriately, like obsessive interest can occur. Okay, like the example for obsessive interest mean like addiction for drugs, smoking. So during that oral stage, if the particular person did not get an opportunity to suck milk in a sufficient manner, then obsessive interest like can occur in the later life, in their later life. A passion is an Then what will happen? Look at this. A passion is a persistent focus on an earlier psychosexual stages. Until this conflict is resolved, the individual will remain stuck in that stage. Okay. So therefore, we should not let them to stuck in the different stages. Like, let's say, if the person is not, they don't know if the child is not, he doesn't know how to release poop and piss in a relevant, in an appropriate manner, he will stuck in the anal stage, and it is badly affected for their personality development. So therefore, a person who is fixated, that means a person who directs one's eyes towards, that means simply an adult, is needed for what? Not to allow that individual to remain stuck in different stages. Again, I will tell you, a person who is alert, or person who direct one's, that means one's eye towards these children or a child, is really needed for what? Not for what? Not letting individual to remain stuck in the different stages. Okay. As I told you, the oral stage, for example, may be over dependent on others and seek oral stimulation through smoking, drinking, and eating. Like, not only smoking and addicting to drugs, sometimes some people are, some children are taking like very heavy weight diets. අපි කියන ගොඩාක් මහත්තට ඉන්න අය දැන් වර්තමානයේ ගොඩාක් කෑම කාලා කටින් ලොකු වෙලා තෘප්තිය ගන්න හොයන අය, when we are referring there, when we are reviewing their child like oral stage, during that period they could not be able to suck, they could not be able to drink milk from their mother or from his mother, from her mother, in an appropriate manner. Okay, so therefore, like addicting to the very heavy diet, or smoking, or addicting to the drugs are a very good example for obsessive interest, which can offer later in life, because because people could not be able to satisfy their needs in an appropriate manner in the oral stage. Like, when we talk about oral stage, the age range birth 1 year to 16 months, that means 1.5 years. The erogenous zone is mouth. So during this oral stage, the infant primary intersection source occur through the mouth. I have explained. So therefore, because the infant is entirely dependent upon the caretaker during that period, caretaker or a mother, who are responsible for feeding the child also develop a sense of trust and comfort through this oral stimulation. Okay. Let's say now, since during that period, infant is highly dependent on caretaker or his or her mother. So therefore, a child must become less independent upon caretaker. A primary conflict at this stage is the weaning process. The child must become less dependent upon caretaker if fixation occur at this stage. So, Sigmund Freud believed the individual would have issues with dependency or aggression. Oral fixation can result in problem with drinking, eating, smoking, or nail biting. Okay, so therefore, but anyhow, during that period, the child is highly depend on like caretaker. During that period, like if the particular as an adult, if you are not keeping an eye on them in an appropriate manner, they will become aggressive. Okay, they will become aggressive. So we should not let them, our child or infant to be aggressive. So as an adult, we should provide their necessary, we should satisfy their needs and wants on time is really important. Then the anal stage. So age in between, age range is 1 to 3 years. So erogenous song is bowel and bladder control. As I told you, since they are having, since they like in here age mean like, you can take like some books say it's in between 2 to 4 years. Some books says it's like 1.5 years to 4 years. So likewise, anyhow, please keep in your mind like it's like in between 1.5 years to 4 years. Okay, during that time. So during this stage, like bladder and bowel inconsistence mean a problem holding in urine and stool. That's why stool mean poop, kakki කියන දේවල්. So the problem of holding urine and stool, they during that period they strictly know how to hold in their urine and stool. So that's why adult is asking, pushing them to release their urine and stool. They never give it. So that's why we should not pushing them to. That's why we should, as an adult, we should not ask them to release urine and stool as soon as they can, because if we do so, we cannot teach them generosity. Okay. So you may have an unwanted passage of urine on stool that you cannot control. So these conditions can be stressful to deal with, but because during that period, since child are taking solid foods after they are after the amma's cuckoo, so therefore that there are unwanted passage of urine and stool that they can't control, and it's in their body. So therefore, when they are releasing that, at the same time, some books tell the stool also very solid during that period because they are having solid foods. So therefore, it's really hard for them to release stool during that period, since it's somewhat very solid nature. So therefore, they try to release those stool, and they try to get the satisfaction while passing those stool in an appropriate place. ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒ කාලේ අර ඝන ආහාර ගන්න නිසා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ කකි හරි ඝනකම්ලු. එතකොට ඒ ඝන දෙයක් ඇඟෙන් රිලීස් කරන්න තියෙන අපහසුතාවය නිසා ඒගොල්ලෝ දැඩි පීඩනයකට පත් වෙනවලු. එතකොට අපි පහසුවෙන් ඒ දේ කරගන්න සාධාරණ කාලයක් පිරිසිදු ස්ථානයක් ලබා දීම තුළ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඒ ස්ට්‍රෙස් එක ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ ඝන poop release කරලා ගන්නවා කියලා කියන්නේ. So therefore, as an adult, we should provide a very clean place for them to release the stool. Not only that, the sufficient time also should be provided for them to get their pleasure. So during the anal stage, Sigmund Freud believed that the primary focus of the libido was on controlling blood and bowel movements. Okay, and according to Sigmund Freud, success at this stage depends on how parent approach toilet training. That's why I told you, you can teach toilet training. Parent can utilize praise and rewards for using the toilet. Nah, this when children are properly using the toilet, when they are properly sit on the potty. So as a parents, what we do is we should praise and reward for using the toilet. අපුඩියක් ගහලා ෂා බබා හොඳට කක්කි දැම්මනේ, බබා හරියට හරි තැනට potty දැම්මනේ කියලා අපි ඒගොල්ලන්ට praise and reward should be provided at the appropriate time. දාන්න කලින් කියන්නේ දැම්මට පස්සේ කියන්න ඕනි. Encourage positive outcome and help children feel capable of productive. So Sigmund, this is the adult responsibility towards personality development, my dear student. Okay. Then Sigmund Freud believed that positive experience during the toilet training stage serve as the basis for people become competent, productive, and creative adult. Not only cleanliness, not only generosity we can teach. You can include, we can child to be competent, productive and creative adult, because creative විදියට ඒගොල්ලෝ හරි දේ හරි තැනට දානවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ දක්ෂ විදියට කෙනෙක් කියපු දෙයක් තේරුම් අරන් කරන්න දැනගන්න during the anal stage, because in the infant stage they don't know how they can do it. Okay, because they always totally depend on the caretaker. But when we talk about the anal stage, since child know to do something in an individual person, තනි පුද්ගලයෙකුට දෙයක් කරගන්න දැනගන්න නිසා they become competent, productive, as well as creative person in this anal stage. However, not all parents provide the support and encouragement children need during this stage. Some parents punish, ridicule, and shame a child for accidents. මේ ඉරිස් කවුරුයා මනුස්සයෙක් ගෙදරටම කියන මෙයා තැන් වල චූදානවා, මෙයාට කක්ක දාන්න දන්නේ නැහැ, අපහාස කරන ළමයින්ට ගහනවා. I think it's not too good, not to punish children. But if we teach in a very first day in an appropriate manner with the right praise and reward, it's a good platform for them to develop their personality. So in most of the cases I have noted, children are not bad, child is not bad, but the bad is their parents and the adults. Since we are very conscious about the action what we are doing, and since children are not aware about properly what they are doing, so as an adult, if we provide clear instruction, in an appropriate manner at the correct time, so we can support them to grow well. It is really needed. දරුවෝ නරක නැහැ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට පුතේ වැඩිහිටියෝ තමයි වැරදි දේවල් ගොඩාක් දේවල් දරුවන්ට කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා අපි හරි දේ හරි තීරණය හරි විදිහට හරි අවස්ථාවේදී කිරීම තුළ we can give a very nice life to a child or a children. Hope you get my point clearly, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The phallic stage is the age range between 3 to 6 years. So during that period, my dear student, the very important thing that you have to notice, during this period, like heterosexual attraction is somewhat very high. Like normally girls are very loving for their father, and the boys are very loving for their mother. So we have to accept that bitter truth. We should not criticize them. So it is a change which happen in their mind. So in those book says in that when we are reading that book says like always son try to there is a high tendency, son always having high tendency towards mother, and the daughter has high tendency toward their father. Because of this heterosexual attraction, then so as an adult, what we can do during this period is, let's say as a wife and a husband, we have to be very exemplary, as well as we should show to our children that we are loving each other very well. We have, as an, let's say that now sons are loving for their mother and daughters are loving very loving to their father. We should not be arrogant. So as husband and wife, what we have to do is we have to be very exemplary, as well as we have to show we should not show. We should behave like a very loving couple in front of our children. Because when they feel, well, like say when son is observed that my father is very loving to my ammi, then what will automatically happen? Then son try to imitate father. Why? Because father is loving to my mother. So therefore, when I try to imitate father, then I can get the love of my mother. Can එතනදී වෙන්නේ මෙහෙම දෙයක්. ගොඩක් ගෑනු දරුවෝ අම්මලට ඇට්‍රැක්ට් වෙනවා, තාත්තලට පිරිමි දරුවෝ අම්මට ඇට්‍රැක්ට් වෙනකොට අපි අම්ම වැඩිහිටියෝ විදිහට හස්බන්ඩ් ඇන්ඩ් වයිෆ් විදිහට අපි ගොඩාක් ආදරෙන් ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉස්සරහ අපිට ආදරෙන් හැසිරෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි ආදරෙන් කතා කරන්න ඕනේ, හග් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒත් ඒගොල්ලෝ දැනගන්නවා දැන් ගැහැණු දරුවෙක් බලනවා මම තාත්තට ගොඩක් ආදරෙයි, තාත්තා අම්මට ගොඩක් ආදරෙයි වෙනවා. එහෙනම් මම අම්මා වගේ වුණාම තාත්තා මට තවත් ආදරේ වෙයි කියලා. That's why during that period girls try to imitate their mother by wearing a sari, by wearing amma shoes. So ඒ දේවල් වෙන්නේ නිකන් නෙමෙයි පුතේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ මානසිකව there is a high caring attitude or loving attitude toward their තාත්තා. මොකද ඒ දෙන්න ආදරෙන් ඉන්නකොට තමයි අම්මව imitate කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. But what son is observing, I'm very loving to my mother, but since my father is very loving to ammi, I should love to my father. I should not love, I should imitate my තාත්තා. මම තාත්තා වුණ කරන එක තාත්තා වගේ වුණොත් මට අම්මා තවත් ආදරය වෙයි. අම්මගේ ආදරය මට තවත් ගන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද අම්මා තාත්තට ගොඩක් ආදරය කරන නිසා. So likewise then, so during these like in age between 3 to 6, most of the girls try to imitate their mother to get, why? Because try to get the extra attention from their father. So most of the son try to imitate their father. Why? To get some kind of extra attention from mother to him. So during that period, as an adult, what we have to do is we have to be very exemplary in front of our children, and as well as we should behave like a very loving and caring couple in front of them. එහෙම කරේ නැත්නම් දරුවෝ කවදාකවත් අම්මව ගැහණු දරුවෝ අම්මව ඉමිටේට් කරන්නේත් නැහැ, තාත්තා පිරිමි දරුවෝ තාත්තව ඉමිටේට් කරන්න යන්නේත් නැහැ. So we have to be very very loving each other during this period. So Sigmund Freud also believed that boys begin to view their father as rival for the mother's affection. දැක්කද අම්මගේ ආදරයට ගන්න පිරිමි දරුවෙක් දකින්නවලු තාත්තා තමයි මට ලොකුම බාධකය. The Oedipus then girls believe like girls begin to view their mother as rival for the father's affection. තාත්තගේ ආදරය ගන්න මටින් ලොකුම බාධකේ අම්මා. හැබැයි මේ අම්මයි තාත්තා එකිනෙකට ආදරය කරද්දී what will happen? දුව අම්මව ඉමිටේට් කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා තාත්තගේ ආදරය වැඩියෙන් ගන්න. පුතා තාත්තව ඉමිටේට් කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා අම්මගේ ආදරය වැඩියෙන් ගන්න. So as an adult, so we have to be very exemplary and loving each other in front of our children. Then the fourth stage is the latent period, like in age between, like age range is 6 to puberty period. In here, puberty period mean like in age, underline this puberty and write down, my dear student, 12 years. So therefore, latent period mean like in between 6 to 12 years. So during that period, actually there is no heterosexual, there is a homosexual mean not that type, but අපේ සමජාතිය ලොකු tendency එකක් තියෙනවා. As well as during this period, children are very interesting about the studies, especially sports. මේ වයසේදී ගොඩක් දරුවෝ ක්‍රීඩාවට ලොකු නැඹුරුතාවයක් දක්වනවා. So we can, as an adults, we can, this is the age we have to provide opportunity for our children to engage with extracurricular activities. Then we can identify where they're strong in different sports. As well as in the age between normally 3 to 6 years mean like that period. Normally during that period, like not 3 to 6, 6 to 12 years. 6 කියන්නේ 6 කියන්නේ grade 1 ඉඳලා grade 6 5 වගේ යන කාලෙනේ. ඒ කාලේ තමයිලු වැඩිපුරම ස්පෝර්ට්ස් වලට දක්ෂ සහ ඉගෙන ගන්න ලොකු ටෙන්ඩන්සි එකක් තියෙන්නේ. So we can actually as a parents අපි කියන්නේ පළවෙනි එක් වසරේ ඉඳන් පහ වසරට බලන දරුවෙක් ඊට පස්සේ automatically ඉගෙන ගන්නවා කියන්නේ අන්න ඕක නිසා. Because as an adult we have to give high weight during this period in like from grade 1 to grade 5. Then in age between age 6 to 12, because during that period children can absorb many things at once. මේ කාලය තුළ මිනිස් ළමයිට ගොඩක් දෙයක් එකපාර ග්‍රහණය කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Studies, sports, as well as, but during this period they actually there is high tendency for homosexual. ගෑන් ළමයි එක තමයි ඉන්න කැමති, පිරිමයි එක තමයි ඉන්න කැමති. So you have observed that a nice quality when they are attending for the Hampasa or Sunday school. When we ask them to sit in the class, girls are sitting with girls, boys are sitting with boys. Okay, but after 12 years period, after they come to the genital period, we can see now they like to sit with heterosexual people. It happens, but we have to look at it in a very positive manner. So during this period, as an adult, what we have to do is we have to provide opportunity for them to engage with sports. We should provide opportunity for them to study well by helping them with their education, school work, and we should provide opportunity for them to work according to a timetable. මේ කාලෙදී කියන in between age 6 to 12 is a very good age period where we can teach children to work according to a timetable. So අපි කාලසටහනකට පාඩම් කරන්න උගන්වන්න පුළුවන් හොඳම කාලය කියන අවුරුදු 6 සහ 12 අතර. So as an adults we should help our children to make a timetable, and we should support them to work according to a timetable. මේ කියන දේවල් පුතේ note එකේ නැහැ. So when you are listening, you have to write down. We can, as an adults, we can help them to work according to a timetable. We can help them for their studies. We have to, as an adults, we have to keep our eye on their studies. We should provide opportunity for them to engage with extracurricular activities, especially sports. And we should provide opportunity for them to engage with to become members of different societies in the school. දැන් මම ඇත්තටම දැකලා තියෙනවා because I have two daughters. Wait 1 second පුතේ. Actually, I am witness for this because I have two daughters. My elder daughter is now, she's in I can witness for this because I have two daughters. My elder one is in grade 7 right now, and my second daughter is in grade 3. Now my second daughter is in this age range 6 to 12 years. And I have noted that especially she is very interesting to work according to timetable, and she is very interesting about the studies, sports, etc. But the same thing was happened to my elder daughter when she was in the age between 6 to 12. But right now I have observed now she is not that kind of, because during that period also she worked according to a timetable, and then there was a nice tendency for the sports and other activities, and I have provided different opportunities for her to engage with different membership of the to be a member of different societies in the school as an adult, by dropping them and picking them on time and providing the necessary requirements, providing necessary facilities when they disclose that they like to be a member of different societies. So likewise, I have facilitated. But after 12 years, normally they cannot pay an extracurricular activities. Honestly, I am telling you, since they have 13 subjects, now there is high tendency for studies only. ඉතින් අපි කියන්නේ අර කතාවකට දරුවෙකුට එයා ආස දෙයක් කරන්න පුළුවන් කාලයක් වෙන්නේ අවුරුදු 1 වසර සිට 5 වසර දක්වා විතරයි. Because my two daughters now they are attending voice training. Because why I said I can send both of you for voice training during this period, but I know after grade 6 you don't have sufficient time to engage with these kind of enjoyable things, because you have to deal with these 13 subjects even though you like or dislike. It happens. So therefore, as an adult, we should provide our children much more opportunities to engage with enjoyable activities in the school, and sports or extracurricular activities, to provide opportunity for them to become members of the different societies and work according to a timetable. Automatically, when they get use of that, like when they work according to timetable, it comes to their blood. So after grade 6, actually we should not put them to do it. Now, since it is already in their blood, they will follow it. That they will follow that same manner in future as well. So therefore, since their sexual feelings are inactive during this period, that's why I told you there is no tendency for heterosexual, there is no attraction for heterosexual partners. Sexual feeling කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට කිසිම අර ලිංගික ආශාවක් කියලා ඒ කාලේ නෑ. ඉගෙන ගන්නයි සෙල්ලම් කරන්නයි තමාගේ ගෑනුළමයි ආශ්‍රය කරන්න තමයි during that period that's high tendency. But when they come to the genital stage, like after 12 years period, like after 12 years period to death, අපි කියනවා අවුරුදු 12න් පස්සේ මරණය දක්වාම they are maturing sexual interest. ලිංගික ආශාව කියන දේ ඇති වෙනවා. So at the same time, there is a high tendency for heterosexual people, opposite sex. As an adult, we have to view it as a very normal thing. We should not be arrogant. We should not be upset. We should not be very strict towards that. But we should tell our children, this is not the age for you to have unnecessary affairs with the other parties. We should provide sexual education, actually not during this period, but for my two daughters, I have provided when they are in between grade 1 to grade 5. Since I believe they can understand what I am telling, so I provided that sexual education during that period, because it's really necessary. Otherwise, if we thought to give that sexual education after grade 6 or after 12 years, what will happen? Since they are maturing sexual interest, automatically they have started different affairs with the other people. But we have to tell, as a very healthy person, that sexual interest can be matured in your body. But anyhow, this is not the age for you to start that kind of affairs, because first you have to complete your school journey. Then after you have to go for higher studies. Then later on you can select a very good life partner for your life. Because why? In age between 12 to after 12 to 19, because normally a child is doing a advanced level when they come to age 19. So in between age 12 to 19, you cannot make very rational decision. You can make decision, but those are not rational. So if you cannot make rational decision with very solid information, so what will happen? You will make wrong decision. තාම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට හරි තීරණ ගන්න තරම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ හදවත මනස සූදානම් නැහැ. ඒතර වැරදි තීරණ ගත්තම ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉතිරි අනාගත ජීවිතේම දුයාරු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කියලා I have shown different examples from the society as well. You see, this akka has done like this, or this ayah has done like this. Now look at this. Now they are suffering because they have started unnecessary affairs during this period. So they ruined their education journey. They did not schooling very well. So therefore, they could not be able to go for higher studies. Now they are suffering. They cannot find money to satisfy their primary needs as well. So their children also suffering. They are also suffering. Their parents also suffering. So I am showing the example from the real community. So as an adult, we have to give the real picture, but not insulting the other people, while ensuring their privacy and confidentiality. We have to clearly tell that, yes, now in your body, your sexual interest is maturing, but anyhow, don't try to start unnecessary affairs because you have to do only these ages to focus on your study. Be a very exemplary person in your school time. So likewise, that kind of proper education should be provided. At the same time, my dear student, please do remember, during the age, in the gentle stage as well as latent period, school friends play a very big role. Actually, I forgot to tell it, school children play a very big role. So therefore, as an adult, so especially during the latent period as well as the gentle period, like after six years, we should, as an adult, we should ensure whether my child is associating a very good friend. මම ඇත්තටම මගේ දුවලා දෙන්න ආශ්‍රය කරන යාළුවන් මම කියලා තියෙනවා. පුතේ මේ යාළුවෙක් විදිහට ආශ්‍රය කරන්න. අනිත් අය ආශ්‍රය කරන්න එපා කියන්නේ. But I already found a good friend for them and try to always ask them to associate that particular person. So a හොඳ කියන එක when I am deciding that good friend is not the money. It is the good quality. Especially I look at the family background, especially mother and fathers, their behavior, their thoughts, their reaction, their behavior, their feelings are very important for me. So for my elder daughter also, I have recommend a good friend from her school because I know their parents very well. Daily I speak with them. I share my thoughts, and her mother is like a sister for me. So likewise, so that kind of proper association is really required. Why? Because especially in the gentle stage after 12 years period, they are highly based on their friend. The friends' arguments, their suggestions, recommendations are highly taken into account by the children during that period. So therefore, as an adult, you should help your child to find a very good friend. And if the particular child could not be able to find a very good friend, as an adult, as a parent, you should find and give him or give her. It is necessary. Okay, එනිසා හැමතිස්සෙම යාළුවව ලොකු කරගෙන දෙමාපියන්ම අන්ඩර්මයින් කරනවා අපි කියන එකනේ මේ යාළුවා කියන එක අහන්නේ කියන ඒ වගේ ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න එපා because we know that is the nature of their life. It happens, but we have to facilitate, we have to provide required information for them to grow well or develop their personality time to time. So that's why this proper education is really important. Okay, let's take a small break right now. So before that, I will show you a small video on these psychosexual development 5 stages. So mainly we have discussed 5 stages like gentle stage, then puberty stage, latent stage, then phallic stage, then oral stage and anal stage. So let's try to watch this small video which explains all these 5 psychosexual stages we have studied so far.
Sigmund Freud's 5 stages of psychosexual development. Sigmund Freud, the acclaimed founder of psychoanalysis, is one of the influential theorists on personality development. Like the other famous theorists on personality development, such as Erik Erikson and Lawrence Kohlberg, Freud also attempted to address the question, how does personality develop? And to that end, came up with what is famously known today as Freud's 5 stages of psychosexual development. Freud's 5 stages of psychosexual development describes how personality developed over the course of childhood, with the central claim that children go through a series of psychosexual stages that lead to the development of the adult personality. This led Freud to believe that personality development in childhood takes place during 5 psychosexual stages, namely 1. Oral stage, 2. Anal stage, 3. Phallic stage, 4. Latency stage, and 5. Genital stage. It must be noted that, according to Freud, during each stage sexual energy, or libido, is expressed in different ways and through different parts of the child's body. It is important to note that Freud calls these stages psychosexual because each stage represents the fixation of the sexual energy, or libido, on a different area of the body. The idea of the fixation of the libido on a different area of the body is important for Freud because, as Freud argues, as the person grows physically, certain areas of their body become important as sources of frustration, that is, erogenous zones, as Freud calls it, and pleasure. As we may already know, central to Freud's 5 stages of psychosexual development is that claim that life is built around tension and pleasure. For Freud, this tension was caused primarily by the buildup of libido in certain parts of the body, and, as is well known, pleasure came from its release. In what follows, I will briefly discuss the key concepts Freud's 5 stages of psychosexual development. Oral stage, from birth to 1 year. According to Freud, the first stage of psychosexual development is the oral stage, which spans from birth until the age of 1 year. Freud says that the mouth is the erogenous zone during this stage, and hence, the libido is centered on the baby's mouth. And for this reason, the child's primary source of interaction occurs through the mouth. Thus, the mouth is vital for eating, and the child derives pleasure from oral stimulation through gratifying activities such as tasting and sucking. Since during this stage the child is entirely dependent upon caretakers, such as the mother, the child also develops a sense of trust and comfort through this oral stimulation. This explains why the breastfed baby normally develops intimacy with the mother. According to Freud, the primary conflict at this stage is the weaning process, where the child first experiences the feeling of loss as a result of losing the physical intimacy of feeding at mother's breast. However, Freud believes that weaning increases the child's self-awareness, that she does not control the environment and thus learns of delayed gratification, which leads to the formation of the capacities for independence, that is, awareness of the limits of the self, and trust, that is, behaviors leading to gratification. It is important to note that for Freud, thwarting of the oral stage, that is, granting the child too much or too little gratification of desire, might lead to an oral stage fixation, which is characterized by passivity, gullibility, immaturity, and unrealistic optimism. In the case of too much gratification, Freud says the child does not learn that she does not control the environment, and that gratification is not always immediate, thereby forming an immature personality. In the case of too little gratification, the infant might become passive upon learning that gratification is not forthcoming, despite having produced the gratifying behavior. Anal stage, from 1 to 3 years old. The second stage of psychosexual development according to Freud is the anal stage, which spans from the age of 1 to 3 years. According to Freud, the child's erogenous zones in this stage are the bowel and the bladder control. Thus, in this stage, toilet training is the child's key anal stage experience, occurring at about the age of 2 years, and results in conflict between the ID, demanding immediate gratification, and the ego, demanding delayed gratification, in eliminating bodily wastes and handling related activities. For example, manipulating excrement, coping with parental demands. As we can see, it is in this stage that ID-ego conflict arises. For a detailed discussion on Freud's theory of instincts, that is, the dynamic interplay between the Freudian concepts of ID, ego, and superego, and how they played out in the development of one's personality, please see our article titled, Why Do We Need to Work? Lessons from Sigmund Freud's Philosophy of Work. The link is available in the description section of this video. Now, for Freud, the ideal resolution of the ID-ego conflict is in the child's adjusting to moderate parental demands that teach the value and importance of physical cleanliness and environmental order, thus producing a self-controlled adult. However, if the parents make immoderate demands of the child by overemphasizing toilet training, it might lead to the development of a compulsive personality. A person too
In here, overemphasizing toilet training means, as I told you, pushing children to put the stools and urine as soon as they can. So we have not overemphasizing toilet training during this period. We should provide sufficient time for them to do their activity.
concerned with neatness and order. If the child obeys the ID and the parents yield, she might develop a self-indulgent personality characterized by personal slovenliness and environmental disorder. If the parents respond to that, the child must comply, but might develop a weak sense of self because it was the parents' will and not the child's ego which controlled the toilet training.
This is somewhat a very, very important sentence. If the parent respond to that, the child must comply. Like, let's say, please sit on a potty. Then it's an order which comes from adult parent side. So child must comply, but he never develop a weak sense of self because he doesn't know that self confidence will not be properly grow during this period if the caretaker is doing everything, like a caretaker or a parent doing everything regarding the toilet training. So we should provide discretion freedom for child to select a place, select the potty, and sit in an appropriate manner and do that task in a very relaxed mood. So we should not do everything for him, like carrying him and putting him on the potty and holding until the particular child is releasing the stool and urine. So that kind of thing is not required. So you should provide freedom for that particular child to do it. You have to close the door of the bathroom or a toilet and provide sufficient time to him to do that activity. But you have to keep your eye on the process because the safety is very, very much needed. So when you only direct that person for the toilet training, not to teach from A to Z, then automatically his sense of self will be grow eventually. It's a good important sign for the personality development, and we should not teach A to Z everything, especially in the anal stage.
Phallic stage, from 3 to 6 years old. The phallic stage is the third stage of psychosexual development, spanning the ages of 3 to 6 years, wherein the infant's libido centers upon the genitalia as the erogenous zone. The child becomes aware of anatomical sex differences, which sets in motion the conflict between erotic attraction, resentment, rivalry, jealousy, and fear, which Freud called the Oedipus complex and the Electra complex. The term Oedipus complex describes the feelings of wanting to possess the mother and the desire to replace the father, while Electra complex describes a similar set of feelings experienced by young girls. According to Freud, the complex is resolved through the process of identification, which involves the child adopting the characteristics of the same-sex parent. Latency stage, from 6 years old to puberty. The latency stage is the fourth stage of psychosexual development, spanning the period of 6 years to puberty. During this stage, the libido is dormant and no further psychosexual development takes place. Freud thought that most sexual impulses are repressed during the latent stage, and sexual energy can be sublimated towards schoolwork, hobbies, and friendships. Freud also believes that in this stage, much of the child's energy is channeled into developing new skills and acquiring new knowledge, and play becomes
That's why I have told you in age between 6 to 12 years, that means puberty period. It is the age where we can help our children to engage with their hobbies, with their good friendships, to acquire new skills like playing musical instruments or karate, ballet. That kind of activities can be done during this period, because this is a very good age for them to develop their personality development when they engage with different kind of activities other than their studies.
Actually confined to other children of the same gender.
Same gender people, okay, during in that stage, same gender people are very, very important.
Genital stage, from puberty to adult. The genital stage is the last stage of Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development, which begins in puberty until adulthood. It is a time of adolescent sexual experimentation, the successful resolution of which is settling down in a loving one-to-one relationship with another person in our 20s. Here, sexual instinct is directed to heterosexual pleasure, rather than self-pleasure like during the phallic stage. For Freud, the proper outlet of the sexual instinct in adults was through heterosexual intercourse. Fixation and conflict may prevent this, with the consequence that sexual perversions may develop. For example, fixation at the oral stage may result in a person gaining sexual pleasure primarily from kissing and oral sex, rather than sexual intercourse. It is important to note that for Freud, the genital stage represents most of a person's life. It is also in this stage that the person develops the ability to confront and resolve their remaining psychosexual childhood conflicts. As in the phallic stage, the genital stage is centered upon the genitalia, but the sexuality is consensual and adult, rather than solitary and infantile. The psychological difference between the phallic and genital stages is that the ego is established in the latter, and a person's concern shifts from primary drive gratification, instinct, to applying secondary process thinking to gratify desire symbolically and intellectually by means of friendships, a love relationship, family, and adult responsibility.
Okay. I think that video is like a summary of what we have discussed so far. So we'll give you a small break for you, my dear children, like 10 minutes break. Now time is 9:23. Like let's meet around 10:35. So if you did not have your dinner, have it and come and refresh. And if your loved ones is outside your room, talk with them and have a change and come. Please stand from the seat. It is really necessary. Don't be seated as you are right now. Have a change and come back. Okay, let's meet around 10:30 then. start now. Okay, since we have already completed the psychosexual stages, which are very important topic in psychology, let's move to the next topic, behavioral psychology. That means behavioral theory, behaviorism. Actually, this behaviorism, according to the behaviorism, psychology studies observable behavior. That means external behavior. Simply this observable behavior, we can call it as external behavior which can be seen from a human mind. Okay, actually, this is a behavioral theory. Behavioral theory. So, according to this behaviorism, it says like always we are focusing on observable. Please underline this word, my dear student, observable behavior. Okay, and the other one is this very influential theory. Actually, because when we are defining psychology, I don't know whether you can remember, we define psychology as the human scientific study of human mind and observable behavior. Because initially the psychology was defined as it's a scientific study of human mind, but we know it's practically impossible for us to scientifically study the human mind because it's an internal process as well as it's somewhat a very private and confidential area in the human body. So therefore, since the behavior is external, since it is an observable, we can get some kind of idea about the human mind when we are observing this external behavior. So in psychology, since the behavior is somewhat a very, very important, it is a mirror image of feeling and emotion of a person. Again, I will tell you, behavior is the mirror image of uh, feeling and emotion of a person. පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ හැඟීම් හා සිතුවිලි වල සාක්ෂියක් තමයි පුතේ පුද්ගලයාගේ හැසිරීම. ඒතර කෙනෙක් හැසිරෙන විදිහ අනුව අපිට තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒ පුද්ගලයාගේ සිතුවිලි සහ හැඟීම් කොයි වගේද කියලා. හරිද? So therefore this behavior, so in order to encourage this behavior, in order to discourage this behavior, this behavioral theory have suggested different techniques. There are different concepts, principles, techniques are associated with this behavioral theory. Actually, this behavioral theory is somewhat very, very important theory in psychology. And I will tell who is the founder of this behavioral theory. Because in behavioral theory, like there are two important conditioning, operant conditioning and classical conditioning. But we are focusing only on operant conditioning. So the father of there are different scholars who have already initiated for the development of this behavioral theory, behavioral psychology theory, this behaviorism. So BF simply J.B. Watson, B.F. Skinner, E.L. Thorndike, Ivan Pavlov. So those kind of scholars are the very prominent scholars, those who gave tremendous contribution for the development of theory. Again, I will tell you Ivan Pavlov, J.B. Watson, B.F. Skinner, and E.L. Thorndike. So why I'm telling the name of these scholars, if you are really interested, you can search about these scholars and you can identify what kind of contribution have been given by these people for the development of behaviorism. It's called learning, Pute. Because don't believe all the facts and information that I'm sharing here should be absorbed as it is by yourself. No, you have to check whether the things I'm teaching in front of you today through this online platform isn't true and accurate. You have to search it. You have to revisit them. You have to recall them. You have to review them. And you have to check whether these information that I have shared are true and accurate. Doesn't mean that I am applying you. I am teaching the correct things. But if you are checking whether the Miss Michelle is teaching is true and accurate, it's called learning. It's like studying for you. It should be happen. So therefore, according to this behaviorism, in behaviorism, how they define psychology is they define psychology as a scientific study of external behavior, scientific study of observable behavior, because in behavioral theory they gave a high value or high weight for the observable behavior rather than for the human mind. They said we cannot scientifically study human mind, but we can scientifically study this observable behavior since it is external. As well as further they have said, like in a very simple manner, they have said like this, according to this behaviorism, there are two type of concepts, like classical conditioning and operant conditioning. But in here, we are focusing on only operant conditioning. Okay, so the behavioral psychology, according to behaviorist, psychology is the study of human behavior. That is the study of external behavior. Simply, that's why I have told you they have designed the psychology as the scientific study of external behavior. They have omitted the scientific study of human mind. That part has been omitted by behaviorism. But in today's context, the way we are defining psychology, it is a scientific study of human mind, and human mind means cognitive processes and human behavior. Okay, so therefore, two ways in which behavior is learned by classical conditioning and operant conditioning. So people learn behavior. Two ways people learn this behavior is either classical or conditioning, operant. But in here we are focusing only on operant conditioning because the time is a limiting factor, because we have to cover sociology and counseling as well in this course. So therefore we have we focus on with the very important areas. It does not mean that the classical condition is not important, but it's important when we compare these two. The operant condition is somewhat very important and applicable for a business management student. That's why I have selected this area rather than focusing on classical conditioning. So let's try to understand what is mean by operant conditioning. So we know that the external behavior is somewhat a very core factor for operant conditioning, as well as operant conditioning speak of the addition and removal of the behavior. So basically, if we want to encourage a person behavior, so what kind of things we have to give? We have to give reinforcement. If we want to discourage a person's behavior, definitely we have to give punishments. So in operant conditioning, we are highly focusing on this reinforcement and punishment. So if we want to encourage a certain behavior, we have to give reinforcement. But if we want to give, if we want to discourage a person's behavior, we have to give punishments. So, according to the causal attribution, the behavior is reinforced based on its positive outcome. Basically, we have learned like අපි කියන ගොඩක් වෙලාවට කෙනෙක්ගේ හැසිරීම තීරණය කරන්නේ ඒ හැසිරීමට ලැබෙන ඵලය මත. ඒ හැසිරීමට පුද්ගලයාගෙන් ලැබෙන ප්‍රතිචාරය මත. එතකොට දැන් හිතන්න අපිට කෙනෙක්ට අවශ්‍ය නම් කෙනෙක්ගේ හැසිරීම ධෛර්යමත් කරන්න ඕන නම් we have to go give reinforcement. This reinforcement can be either positive or negative. We'll be learn later. Okay, but anyhow, according to this operant conditioning, the consequence of the behavior is somewhat very, very important. Okay, so please write down here, in addition to this, the like simply, for all behavior, there is a consequence. Consequence කියන්නේ පුතේ ප්‍රතිඵලයක් තියෙන. හැම චර්යාවකම ප්‍රතිඵලයක් තිබේ. So we believe whether we demonstrate such behavior or not will be decided based on the consequence. අපි දන්නවා අපි හැසිරීමක් තියෙන හැසිරීමෙන් ප්‍රතිලාභයක් තියෙනවා. දැන් මොකක් හිතන්නේ අපි කෙනෙක්ට දැන් කිසි දෙයක් දුන්නම ඒ කෙනා අපිව අගය කරනවා. Agaya karama, the appreciation is the consequence. So therefore, since they have appreciated our behavior, our generosity, so from next day onwards, we try to donate everything what we have as much as we can. Why? Because the consequence is appreciation. So therefore, this appreciation is like a very positive reinforcement for me. So therefore, I will demonstrate that behavior more and more. But let's say now we have scolded a person. So once we have scolded a person, every other people have blamed us. But a ban, we have all other people have criticized me. අනිත් අය ඔක්කොම මාව විවේචනය කරා මම එයාට බැනපු නිසා. So therefore, the consequence is what? Criticizing me. My behavior is scolding other. The consequence is all other people criticized me. They scolded me. ඒගොල්ලෝ අනිත් ඔක්කොමයි මට ආයෙ බැන්නා. මං අනිත් කෙනෙකුට බැනපු නිසා අනිත් ඔක්කොමයි මට බැන්න ඔයා කරපු දේ වැරදි. So consequence. So therefore, from that point, since the consequence is not favorable, then I strictly determine not to demonstrate that behavior in future. ඉතින් මම දැඩිව අවධානයෙන් අවබෝධ කරගත්ත මං අනිත් දවසේ කාටවත් බනින්නේ නැහැ කියලා. So therefore, all behavior there is a consequence. Based on the consequence, we will decide whether we are going to demonstrate the such behavior or not. Okay. So according to partial attribution, the behavior is reinforced based on its positive outcomes. Okay. So behavior is reinforced based on its positive outcome, and the behavior is discouraged based on its negative outcomes. කෙනෙක්ගේ හැසිරීම ධෛර්යමත් වෙනවා යාට ලැබෙන සුබවාදී ප්‍රතිඵලය මත අර මම කිව්ව positive outcome mean sometimes maybe example appreciation. But it's a reinforcement for the particular person. ඒක තමයි යාගේ appreciation is the consequence. So therefore, from next day also onwards, the particular person try to demonstrate that behavior. A behavior is weakened by its unsatisfactory results. So example, unsatisfactory results, what I have said is criticized by others, criticized me by others, or others. Or blamed me. It is the unsatisfactory results, a consequence. So because of this unsatisfactory results, my behavior will be weakened. So next day I'm not going to scold anybody. Why? Because the other people are blaming me because I scolded that person without any reason. I won't do it. So therefore, you can decide whether you are going to demonstrate that such behavior or not based on its consequence. In causal attribution, what matters for learning behavior is what happened after the behavior. So therefore, always we look at what happened after the behavior. Simply we can give a word for consequence. If the consequence happen after the behavior is consequence. So consequence, it can be either positive or negative. So if the consequence is positive, then automatically we try to demonstrate that behavior. But if the consequence, if the negative things happen after the behavior, we will not going to demonstrate it again. So reciprocative action occurs again. Reciprocative means, like, let's say if once I have scolded a person without any reason, then all other people blaming on me. So my reciprocating action is not to scold any other person without any reason in next day. අනිත් දවසේ කිසිම පුද්ගලයෙකුට හේතුවක් නැතුව මම බයින්නේ නැහැ කියන එක reciprocating action එක වෙන්නේ. So based on the consequence, my reciprocating action will change. It can be positive if I get a very if I get a reinforcement, but my reciprocating action will be negative, or if I'm not going to demonstrate that behavior, if I get a very that mean like a very negative response from the others. It also implies that the learner is actively acting on the environment. So simply please do remember, my dear students, how they actively act on the environment, like these, the appreciation or blaming on me come from environment. මට කෙනෙක් බනින්නේද මාව කෙනෙක් අගය කරන්නේද පරිසරයේ ඉන්න කෙනෙක්. So therefore people learn. A learner will learn whether I am going to demonstrate that behavior or not according to the response of the environment. Okay, if the response of the environment is positive, I am going to demonstrate that behavior again and again. If the response of the environment is negative, then I strictly determine not to demonstrate that behavior because other people have rejected me. So therefore, the basic idea in causal attribution is that every behavior has a consequence. So I explained this consequence can be either positive or negative. This consequence can be either positive or negative. If the consequence is positive, we'll demonstrate that behavior more and more. If the consequence is negative, like blaming on me, I'm not going to demonstrate that behavior again and again. Okay, so according to causal attribution, behavior can have two types of outcome: positive or pleasant consequence, or negative or a unpleasant consequence. Okay, so this positive consequence can be positive or negative. Like for example, for positive is appreciation. Example for negative is like blaming on me. Okay, please recall that two incidents. So when we talk about reinforcement or a positive outcome, simply we can tell this positive consequence it's like reinforcement. But if the negative consequence, it's like a punishment for me. So when we talk about reinforcement, like simply it's a positive outcome, positive consequence. උපස්තම්භන කියලා කියනවා. So consequences are the positive outcome of behavior. Simply if the reinforcement are the positive outcomes of the behavior. Okay, so the negative consequence of behavior are punishment. So what are the positive consequence? Positive consequences of a behavior are reinforcement. Let's say the negative consequence of behavior are punishment. So that means simply through punishment we can discourage a certain behavior. Like let's say if other people are blaming on me, it's a punishment for me. Like simply it says, please discourage your behavior further. But you can tell that the negative consequences are reinforcement. The positive consequence of a behavior are reinforcement. Either it can be positive or punishment or reinforcement. Both can be positive and negative. Okay, I'll teach you. Don't worry, don't mix up. Anyhow, right now try to understand for each and every behavior there is a consequence. This consequence can be either positive or negative. Positive consequences happen because of reinforcement. Then the negative consequences happen because of punishment. Okay. Don't worry, I'll explain. The positive outcome of behavior reinforce the behavior. If the positive outcome of behavior mean like appreciation, underline this and write down appreciation. Positive outcome of behavior, appreciation, reinforce the behavior. You know, when somebody is appreciating your behavior, then you try to demonstrate that certain behavior again and again. කෙනෙක්ගේ හැසිරීමට ලබා දෙන සුබවාදී ප්‍රතිඵලය. ප්‍රතිඵලය අපි කියනවා ප්‍රතිඵලය appreciation එක නම් ඒක යාගේ හැසිරීමට නිකන් reinforcement එකක් අපි කියනවා. ඒකට අපි එකට සිංහලෙන් වචනයක් කියනවා ප්‍රතිඅන්තයක් කියලා කියනවා. But consequences that increase the likelihood of a behavior occurring again are counterproductive. Okay, let's try to understand. Like according to attribution, there are 3 dimensions of normal behavior. කෙනෙක්ගේ හැසිරීමේ මාන 3ක් තියෙනවා. Intensity mean how hard he demonstrate that behavior. කොතරම් මහන්සි වෙලා යයි හැසිරීම පෙන්නනවද කියලා. Frequency is number of times demonstrate that behavior. හැසිරීමේ මාන 3 මේ අපි කියන්නේ. හරිද? ඒතර කෙනෙක්ට අපි හිතමු I'll explain using an example. So duration is time period. Time period lasts a certain behavior. Like let's say when we talk about a person is studying. Let's say example is studying a subject. Studying a subject. Let's say psychology. So it's your behavior. This is an example for behavior. Example for behavior. Okay. So when we talk about studying a subject, a psychology, the subject is psychology. So it's an example for behavior. So when we talk about this behavior, the intensity, how hard you demonstrate this behavior. How hard mean so how hard mean whether you have prepared your own timetable, whether you have prepared your own short note, whether you are discussing the facts with your friends through online or offline modes, or whether you are searching information through internet and other online, whether you are reading books, whether you are referring articles to know about this subject more and more, whether you are interviewing people who are really knowledgeable about psychology. It says how hard you demonstrate behavior, how hard you study this subject. What frequencies, number of times you are demonstrated that behavior. So how that, let's say now, yes, every day you are studying 3 hours on psychology. So every day you are searching extra information through internet about psychology. So it's frequency, number of times you demonstrated. Then duration mean time period last a certain behavior. Then the frequency can දවසට කී පාරක් දවස් 3 පාරක් 4 පාරක් පාඩම් කරනවා. Duration කියන්නේ දවසට පැය 3ක් 4ක්. එතකොට number of times and time periods are two different. දවසේ පැය 20 දවසේ පැය 8ක්ම පාඩම් කරන්නේ psychology. So it says your duration. So therefore a person's behavior can be explained in 3 dimensions: intensity as well as frequency and duration. So we can tell a person's behavior is strong when all these dimensions are satisfied. කෙනෙක්ගේ හැසිරීම අපි කියන්නේ ශක්තිමත් කියලා තීරණය කරන්නේ if all these 3 dimensions are met. If all these 3 areas are met. කෙනෙක් හිතන්න intensity and frequency is there but duration is not there, then we cannot tell that behavior is somewhat very strong. So in order to demonstrate a certain behavior, from all these 3 aspects, a person should be sound. මේ අංශ තුනෙන් මේ පුද්ගලයා සම්පූර්ණ වෙන්න ඕනේ හැසිරීමක් ශක්තිමත් කිරීමට නම්. So basically, when we talk about reinforcement, normally we are given reinforcement to demonstrate that behavior again and again. So simply to increase the intensity, to increase the frequency, to increase the duration. So reinforcement increase all 3 dimensions of behavior. Like let's say appreciation. So when somebody is appreciate your behavior, then automatically your intensity, your frequency and your duration should be increased. Otherwise, we cannot tell that your behavior will become strong as much as because of this reinforcement. කෙනෙක් අපිට ප්‍රතියන්තයක් ලබා දුන්නම චර්යාව වැඩි වැඩියෙන් පෙන්눔 කරන්න අගය කිරීම වෙන්න පුළුවන්, ප්‍රොමෝෂන් එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, තෑග්ගක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ හරහා අපි කොච්චර හැසිරීම පෙන්වන වාර ගණන, කාලපරාසය සහ මහන්සි වෙන ප්‍රමාණය වැඩි කරන්න ඕනේ. So basically, let's say now what a behavioral robustness. So simply the behavioral robustness is this behavioral robustness equal is the combination of all 3 dimensions. All 3 dimensions, okay? Yeah, so therefore behavioral robustness is the combination of all 3 dimensions. So from reinforcement to encourage a certain behavior through reinforcement, okay? Through reinforcement such as appreciation of a behavior, through reinforcement we can encourage a certain behavior while increasing all three dimensions. It is a must requirement. Okay, it's a must requirement. It's a must requirement. So environmental robustness is the combination of all three dimensions. Like simply we can tell we can tell that behavioral robustness equal to the intensity plus frequency plus duration. So this is the behavioral robustness. We can tell. Okay. So types of reinforcement. So when we talk about type of reinforcement classification is determined by the we can tell the reinforcement is like it can be either positive or negative, and as well as the reinforcement mainly we give to encourage a certain behavior. Write down, we are providing reinforcement. We are providing reinforcement such as giving promotion because of a productive behavior, giving promotion, appreciate a person's appreciation of a regular attendance of a worker, to encourage what? To encourage a certain behavior. Always please do remember, my dear students, reinforcement are providing for what? To encourage a certain behavior. Certain behavior. 1 second. Okay, very sorry for that. We are providing reinforcement such as giving promotion and appreciation for the regular attendance of a worker to encourage a certain behavior. So always remember, always we are providing reinforcement to encourage a certain behavior. But like there are different kind of reinforcement, type of reinforcement there. Positive, negative, primary, secondary, social, uncharged, charge likewise. But in here from this lesson, we are only focusing on these 5 type of reinforcement: positive, negative, and basic reinforcement, and primary, then secondary reinforcement. Only social reinforcement. First 5 only we are focusing. We are not focusing 6, 7, 8, but we are only focusing positive, negative, primary, secondary, and social reinforcement. Okay. When we talk about positive reinforcement, like it's like to develop a particular person, to encourage a certain behavior, we are providing different stimuli that the person likes. පුද්ගලයේ කැමති උත්තේජක ලබා දෙනවා නම් අපි කියනවා it's a positive reinforcement. Okay, so example for positive reinforcement is, I can give you like example for positive reinforcement is like adding different stimuli that a person like. Example is like you can give like appreciation, you can give a token of appreciation, you can give promotion, then you can give books, tasty foods. Those are person like. So let's say your child has passed an examination. If she is eagerly waiting to buy a book, or having some kind of appreciation in front of the family, then it's like, it's a positive reinforcement. It's like, so you are giving sweet, pleasant stimuli to encourage that certain behavior, that means to pass that exam more and more in future. So negative, or not negative, alternative, it should be negative reinforcement, my dear student. Negative reinforcements. Negative reinforcement is like in order to simply you are avoiding unpleasant stimuli. It's like you are avoiding unpleasant stimuli, like simply you are avoiding painful simply in order to encourage a behavior, you try to avoid painful you try to avoid painful stimuli. So, as an example, let's say if your child is that you are requesting a toy from you and she is continuously crying. බබෙක් වගේ බබා යාළුවෙක් අක්කය කෙනෙක්ගේ බබෙක් කියලා හිතන්න, නැත්නම් ඔයාගේ බබා කියලා හිතන්න. ඔයාගේ මොන හරි දෙයක් පෙරලි අඬාඬ ඉල්ලනකොට, because you want to because what you want to is you want to like simply it's like a negative reinforcement. You want to avoid that painful stimuli because that child is crying. So therefore what you try to do is you try to, in order to, what is your painful stimuli? Let's say example, crying your child for a doll. So what is your painful stimuli? You want to avoid that stimuli, that crying behavior. You want to avoid that crying. It's your painful stimuli. Painful stimuli is crying. So you want to avoid it. So in order to avoid that painful stimuli, what you try to do is you try to purchase that doll and give it to your child, because you don't like she's crying, because that crying is very a painful stimuli for you. So then what kind of behavior encouraging? So you are encouraging your child. You are encouraging whose behavior? You encouraging your child behavior. What? In next day, she knows if I cry, I can take anything. Next day, she knows if I cry, I can take anything. So, what is your painful stimuli? You want to avoid that painful stimuli. So, you try to purchase that doll and give it to your child. So, then what kind of behavior encouraging? You are encouraging your child. You are encouraging whose behavior? You encouraging your child behavior. What? In next day, she knows if I cry, I can take anything. එයා දන්නවා දැන් ඔයා මේක එයා ඩෝල් අරන් දීම තුල දැන් ඔයාට දැනෙනවා මිහිරි තත්ත්වයේ මගහන්නේ ඔයා ඩෝල් අරන් දීම තුල ඔයා එයාගේ encourage කරන්නේ අනිත් දවසේ අඬලා කොහොම හරි වැඩක් ගන්නවා කියන behavior. So negative reinforcement is not good. Negative reinforcement is not good because you are encouraging your child crying behavior in next day as she knows if I cry, I can take anything. So therefore, it's not good. So therefore, negative reinforcement is not good. So in order to avoid, since the crying is very disturbed for you, what you try to do is to encourage a behavior. You encourage your child crying behavior in the next day as she knows if she cries, I can take anything. She knows it. So you are encouraging her crying behavior and this stubborn behavior more and more. It's not good. Okay, so but අම්මා කෙනෙක් විදිහට ඔයාට එයා අඬුවම තියෙන කරදරේ මගහරින්න ඔයා එහෙම කළාට ඔයාට encourage කරන්න ඊදැසේ අපි කියන්නේ අඬලා වැඩක් කරගැනීමේ හැසිරීම. So therefore it's not good. So negative reinforcement is not good. I hope you get my point. So therefore primary reinforcement is an organism that is naturally muted is called the simply primary reinforcement mean you try to satisfy simply since the reinforcement is encourage your behavior simply let's say taking foods tendency for sexuality water are the it's like a primary reinforcement for you මූලික ශාරීරික අවශ්‍යතාව වෙනවා. Okay, so therefore your example for primary reinforcement is simply actually these primary reinforcement are required for your survival. Primary reinforcement are required for a person's required for a survival of the person. Example, water, sexuality, then foods, shelter, etc. Those are primary things which required for your survival. So the secondary reinforcement is secondary reinforcement means that secondary reinforcement are not very much essential, but it's secondary reinforcement is example, these make an individual subservient because of their relationship with the set of primary variables. So example is these are not very much essential. These are not very much essential mean not important කියන එක නෙමෙයි ඕනේ නැතු වුණත් මිනිස්සෙකුට ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. These are not very much essential such as money. You may wonder why money is not needed. No, hinga කාලා හරි ජීවත් වෙන through begging also you can survive. Then money, then prestige, සමහර මිනිස්සුන්ට ගෞරවය කියන දේ ඇත්තෙම නැහැනේ. Then approval, then victory, ජයග්‍රහණය, අනුමැතිය, etc. Those are secondary reinforcement which can be used, reinforcers which simply we can consider money, prestige, approval, victory as those are reinforcers, secondary reinforcers. So therefore the primary reinforcers are water, sexuality, food, shelter. There's a significant difference between reinforcer and reinforcement. Okay, then social reinforcement mean it's somewhat very similar for secondary reinforcement. As a human being in this society, there are different kind of people who are eagerly waiting for such reinforcers in the society. Simply you expect respect from the society. Social reinforcement example maybe let's say example for social reinforcement mean acceptance from the society, then appreciation from the society, සමාජයෙන් තියෙන පිළිගැනීම අනුමැතිය, etc. So then yes, before discussing punishment, I will show you a small video on this reinforcement. Please be with me, my dear student. And this video is all about positive and negative reinforcement. And this video will tell what is mean by reinforcement, what is mean by positive reinforcement, what is mean by negative reinforcement. All these things will be nicely explained. Wait, it's a very small video, like 5 minutes video. Watch it.
Hey everyone, it's Catherine here with Ready Set ABA, and I wanted to take the time today to review positive and negative reinforcement, one of our most basic ABC contingencies that we really need to understand, be able to identify and recognize, whether you're going to practice in the field or take the test. So let's get started. First of all, when we hear the words positive and negative, we don't want to jump to good versus bad, because really all it is added or taken away. So that's what we want to think of when we think of positive. It's not necessarily good. It's just simply adding something. So you can think of a little plus sign, positive. And then with the adding, you have your positive. And then with negative, it is something taken away. Or
if it is negative, it can be punishment or reinforcement. It something try to taken away from you. But if it is either, it can be positive reinforcement or positive punishment. It try to add something to your behavior. It try to add something to you. Let's try to differentiate these positive and negative reinforcement using different examples. Let's try to understand this.
removed. So here you can have your little minus sign. So now that we have these, and this goes for punishment as well, which will be a separate video, but positive and negative is always a stimulus is either added for positive or it's taken away or avoided for negative. And then with reinforcement, we know that the definition of reinforcement is going to be anything that increases the future likelihood of the behavior occurring again in the future.
But anyhow, reinforcement means anything which can encourage a certain behavior.
So now that we have this definition, let's put these two together. So with positive reinforcement, you're adding something that increases the behavior in the future. Oftentimes, this is something that people want. So it's a reward or money or some type of attention that we're seeking. And after we engage in a specific behavior, if we get that attention or if we get access to what we want, we're going to continue to do it again in the future. So a simple example could be going to work and getting a paycheck. So we go to work because money is added. So we go to work, we get a paycheck, we continue to go to work. We also might have other reinforcements at work that are fulfilling to us if we like what we do, hopefully. Also, if you're seeking a social interaction, you might pick up the phone and call a friend. So in the future, you're going to continue to call that same friend that gives you that social interaction that you're looking for. Now, for negative reinforcement, this is something that we want to escape or avoid. And this is where sometimes people get tricked up. If we have something that's aversive in our environment and we want to escape it or avoid it altogether, we're going to engage in specific behaviors to prevent that from happening. So one example, a common example is we don't want to sit in traffic. And so we've learned that we have our phones for Google Maps or maps that we can look ahead of time to avoid that traffic. Likewise, if we're on a road trip and we get stuck in that traffic, we might decide to pull out our map and then escape the traffic. So escaping or avoiding something, the aversive stimuli or event that we are removing or getting rid of, that is the negative piece. So we're going to continue to look on Google Maps, that's the behavior. We're going to continue to look on Google Maps to hopefully avoid the traffic. So anytime we have an escape or an avoidance situation, it's negative reinforcement. So with escape, you're already in the situation and you're trying to get out of that situation. So another example would be a really loud concert. You may try to leave or put on noise canceling headphones to get rid of that loud noise. This 1, 2, 3 step is how you can figure out if the situations or the contingencies are positive or negative reinforcement or punishment. First, you want to ask, what is the behavior? So once you identify what the behavior is, you can look at, does it increase or decrease? And that will tell you in number 3 if it's reinforcement or punishment. So for this example, what's the behavior? Okay, so searching on Google Maps is the behavior. Was something added or taken away? Well, we already have the behavior, so this piece is accounted for. Now, what was the stimulus that was removed? Traffic was avoided altogether. So it was removed. So we have the negative piece. And then did we continue to do the behavior in the future? Yes. We continued to search on Google Maps. So we have our reinforcement identified. So we have our negative reinforcement. That's going to be a great way to break these down when you get a test question or if you're trying to apply this to real life. I hope this helps, and I will upload punishment in a little while. Check out Instagram for more visuals on this and subscribe for more videos to come.
Okay. Okay, now let's try to understand the punishment. Okay, when we are talking punishment, always it try to focus on discourage a certain behavior. Always try to weaken the behavior. So in punishment, we try to reduce the likelihood of a behavior occurring. So as reinforcement, punishment also can be two types: positive punishment and negative punishment. So when we are talking about positive punishment, simply, it's like in order to discourage your behavior, it's like adding adding stimuli which you dislike. Okay, so you can write down the positive punishment. You can write down in here, adding stimuli to which you don't like. Therefore, as a result of this negative stimuli, as a result of this dislike stimuli, your behavior is discouraged. Example is like simply like, let's say, suspend you from suspend you in the university or a school because you had some conflicts with few students. Okay, this is a positive punishment. So simply positive punishment is like, either it's punishment, it's like discouraging behavior. It is positive or negative. But anyhow, adding stimuli which you don't like, because adding stimuli which you don't like means since you suspension is the stimuli which you don't like. So therefore, because of that, your behavior is discouraged. What behavior? Having conflict with other few students. So having conflict with few other students is your behavior. Behavior is discouraged. What behavior discouraged? Your conflict with few other students. That behavior can be discouraged because of this dislike stimuli, which is suspend you from the university education for a 1 month or 2 month period. But when we talk about negative stimuli, yes, this I explained, this positive punishment is adding unpleasant stimuli or dislike stimuli. They stop the behavior, 1 week suspension for getting angry with people. But negative punishment here is this it gives sweet or desired stimuli. That means simply it removed sweet and desired stimuli. So it removed your desired stimuli. Here the desired stimuli are removed. But in the previous case, positive punishment, it add dislike stimuli. But in here, the කලින් එකේදී positive punishment එකේදී උනේ පොඩි ධනාත්මක දඬුවම් වලදී ඔයා අකමැති උත්තේජක එකතු කරා. මෙතනදී කරන්නේ ඔයා කැමති දේවල් ඔයාගෙන් ඉවත් කරනවා. So simply the other person removed the desired stimuli from you to stopping your unwanted behavior. So I simply the simple example is like we remove TV watching time from our children because they didn't do homework on time. වෙලාවට ගෙදරට කරපු නැති නිසා TV බලලා වයින් කරා. ඉතින් what is TV watching? TV watching is the it's a TV watching is the desired stimuli. It's a TV example. TV watching is the desired stimuli are removed, but stopping unwanted behavior. What is the unwanted behavior? Didn't do homework on time. So in order to remove stop this unwanted behavior, this TV watching time has been removed. In here, however, either it is negative or punishment, in both, what we try to do is try to discourage your behavior. But in negative punishment, it try to remove the desired stimuli, but positive punishment, it try to simply in positive punishment, it try to add dislike stimuli to your behavior to discourage your behavior. Hope you will get this point clearly, okay? So in here, when we compare the disparities between reinforcement and punishment, reinforcement increase the frequency of the behavior always. However, either it is positive or negative reinforcement, but anyhow, it increase the frequency of the behavior. It increase the frequency and not only frequency, intensity and duration. Duration of the behavior, frequency, intensity, and duration of the behavior. But punishment reduces the frequency, intensity, and duration of the behavior. Because frequency, intensity, and duration of mean is like the 3 dimension of a behavior. But positive reinforcement add positive stimuli. It add positive stimuli. In positive reinforcement, I will tell you the example. Positive reinforcement give like example for positive reinforcement is giving promotion. Giving promotion like giving promotion because of example giving promotion because of the regular attendance happened during last 3 years. පළවෙනි පහුගිය අවුරුදු තුනම එක දිගට වැට්ටාපු හින්දා යට ප්‍රොමෝෂන් එකක් දුන්නා. It's like adding positive. Like simply, if it is a positive reinforcement, what we always try to do is we try to add positive or a present stimuli. But positive punishment mean always add negative stimuli. So when it is a positive punishment, as I told you earlier, if it is a positive punishment, always we try to add negative stimuli, dislike stimuli. Example is suspension. Then, but negative reinforcement is it always try to encourage a person behavior, even though it's a negative reinforcement, removing a negative stimuli increases the frequency of the behavior. Example mean give a doll to stop the crying behavior of the daughter. But anyhow, it is not good as this crying even though it's temporary stop the crying behavior, by removing the negative stimuli. But anyhow, then next day it's like encouraging. වියන්ගෙන් අපි ආව ධෛර්යමත් කරනවා අඬලා කොහොම හරි වැඩක් කරගන්න. So negative punishment mean removal of positive stimulus, like simply removal of a positive removal of simply if it is a negative punishment, like we remove the positive stimuli. Example, removing the TV time, that example. But anyhow, from when we talk about from your organization context, like decide not to give promotions in next 2 weeks, next 2 years. Next 2 years වලට කිසිම promotion එකක් එයාට දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Decide not to give promotion in next 2 years because he gossiped a lot. ඔපදුප ගොඩක් කියපල තියෙන නිසා අපි ඊළඟ මාස දෙකේදී යාට ඊළඟ අවුරුදු දෙකේ promotion දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Because in order to discourage this bad behavior, gossiping, we have decided not to give promotion. Because promotion කියන්නේ ඕන කෙනෙක් කැමති දෙයක්. It's like a positive stimuli. We remove the positive stimuli to reduce the frequency of behavior. What behavior? This gossiping behavior. So likewise, I believe that you can understand the difference between reinforcement and punishment here. Either it is the reinforcement positive or negative, however it try to encourage the behavior. When we talk about punishment, either it is positive or negative, it try to discourage the behavior. So I'll show you a small video on punishment. It lasts only 4 minutes, my dear student. Let's try to understand what is mean by punishment and what is the difference between positive and negative punishment.
In the context of the operant conditioning theory, we use many everyday terminologies such as the words positive and negative. In everyday context, the word positive could be meaning something good and negative as something bad. However, in the context of the operant conditioning theory, this is not what these words mean. In the context of operant conditioning, the terminology positive stands for adding something, and negative stands for removing something. Now keep this in mind, as it will help you understand the concepts of reinforcement and punishment even better. Let's understand the concept of punishment in the context of operant conditioning theory. Punishment is the opposite of a reinforcer that decreases, weakens, or eliminates the likelihood that a specific behavior will occur when the punishment is paired with a behavior. Punishments can be positive in nature or negative punishments. Positive punishment refers to adding an undesirable stimulus to decrease a behavior. For example, if a student is found texting during class, the teacher is likely to scold the student if this behavior occurs. In this example, the scolding, which is an undesirable stimulus, is the positive punishment, which is aimed at decreasing the behavior of texting during class. Negative punishment, on the other hand, refers to removing a desirable or pleasant stimulus to decrease a specific behavior. For example, if you want to reduce your social media engagement, you may set a rule for yourself that if I spend more than 20 minutes a day on my social media apps, I will restrict my access to my favorite sweets or treats. Since you like eating your favorite sweets, restricting them is undesirable. So to avoid this, you will decrease your behavior of engaging in social media apps for more than 20 minutes a day. All right, that is the end of today's video. If you haven't already, subscribe to Brain Encyclopedia today.
Okay. So I will show you the summary of the lessons what we have learned so far. Simply, it's like operant conditioning, the summary, which lasts like 15 minutes. Let's try to watch this video, then you can understand like what is operant conditioning, what is reinforcement, what is punishment, and positive and negative. Everything what we have discussed under behavioral theory under this final video. Let's try to watch it. It's like a summary of the behavioral theory.
Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of Brain Encyclopedia. In today's episode, we will learn about the basic concepts of a very well-known classical behavioral theory called operant conditioning and reinforcement learning. Without further ado, let's get on to today's video. This video is a part one of a two-part video series. In today's part one video, we will first understand what is operant conditioning and touch down briefly on the origins of operant conditioning. Then we move on to understanding the concepts of reinforcement and punishment. In the part two of this video series, we will learn about the various schedules of reinforcement, but more on that in the next video. Operant conditioning can be defined as the process which allows an animal to develop associations between their action and the consequences or outcomes of those actions. Developing this association is essential because it is this association that allows one to learn the behaviors that they can pursue, such as the behaviors that have been rewarded, or the behaviors that they need to attenuate, such as the behaviors that have been unrewarded or subject to punishment. The origins of operant conditioning can be traced back to the seminal contributions of the well-known behavioral psychologist Behoris Frederick Skinner, or more commonly known as B.F. Skinner, and also referred to as the father of operant conditioning. Skinner proposed that human behavior occurs as an outcome of conditioning. However, he had different views than Pavlov's classical conditioning theory. Skinner stated that the current classical conditioning theory was limited in explaining the existing behaviors that were elicited reflexively. As a result, the classical conditioning theory did not account for new behaviors, such as how a person learns to drive a car. Thus, in Skinner's attempt to understand and theorize human learning, he proposed a theory that could explain how new behaviors were acquired via conditioning. Skinner observed that behaviors that are elicited by humans is usually motivated by the consequences or outcomes of the behaviors, such as reinforcements or rewards, or punishments that they receive as an outcome or consequence of one's behavior. Skinner's idea that learning is a result of the consequences was based on the seminal idea of law of effect, a concept which was proposed by psychologist Edward Thorndike. According to the law of effect, behaviors that are followed by consequences that are satisfying to the organism are more likely to be repeated, and behaviors that are followed by unpleasant or punishment-like consequences are less likely to be repeated. Essentially, if an organism does something that brings about desirable results, they will in fact do it more in the future. And contrarily, if the organism does something that does not bring about desired results, they will attenuate or are less likely to repeat that behavior again. Working with Thorndike's law of effect as its foundation, Skinner began conducting experiments with animals, more specifically rats and pigeons. His goal was to determine how organisms learned through his principles of operant conditioning, and he conducted many studies in the early 1940s. He placed these animals inside an operant conditioning chamber, which he built specifically to test his predictions and hypotheses about the operant conditioning theory that he postulated. He called this the Skinner's box. A Skinner's box contains various elements that can help a person test the predictions of the Skinner's theory. More specifically, a Skinner's box contains a lever for rats or a disc for pigeons that will allow the animal to sort of press them and or peck them for getting a reward, such as food, via the dispenser. Speakers and lights can be associated with certain behaviors as cues for rewards or punishments, and a recorder will account for the number of responses that the animal makes. Skinner performed many experiments with his operant conditioning chamber or the Skinner's box in order to find evidence for his theory. Before moving any further, let's clarify a few terminologies that will help us understand the concepts of reinforcement and punishment better. In the context of the operant conditioning theory, we use many everyday terminologies such as the words positive and negative. In everyday context, the word positive could be meaning something good and negative as something bad. However, in the context of the operant conditioning theory, this is not what these words mean. In the context of operant conditioning, the terminology positive stands for adding something, and negative stands for removing something.
Please remember, even though we believe, it's a very good point that I want to highlight. Normally, we know in positive always, we believe it's good, it's favorable. And negative, we believe it's always bad. And it's something not favorable, but unfavorable. But in here, when we differentiate positive and negative reinforcement and punishment, please do remember, my dear student, like positive mean adding something to the behavior, in adding something to the behavior, or negative mean removing something to behavior. But because positive reinforcement also there, positive punishment also there, negative reinforcement also there, negative punishment also there. So therefore, don't from this operant conditioning, don't believe that positive is always good, negative is always bad. It is not like that. It's all about adding some stimuli or removing some stimuli. In here something means stimuli, උත්තේජකයක් කියන දේ. කැමති දෙයක් අයින් කිරීම හෝ කැමති දෙයක් එකතු කිරීම කියන දේ. In here something means stimuli. So therefore always positive adding some stimuli, negative always removing some stimuli.
Now keep this in mind.
But please to remember, this stimuli can be either positive or negative according to the situation. But anyhow, adding something mean adding stimuli, removing stimuli.
It will help you understand the concepts of reinforcement and punishment even better. Now we understand the concept of positive and negative in the context of operant conditioning. Let's move on to understanding the concept of reinforcement or a reinforcer. A reinforcer can be defined as anything that increases the likelihood that a specific behavior will occur with greater intensity if the reinforcer is paired with that activity. A reinforcer can be a positive reinforcer or a negative reinforcer. A positive reinforcer is a desirable stimulus which is added following an action with an intention to increase the said behavior. Take, for example, every time you finish your homework, your mother gives you your favorite treats or candies. In this scenario, the candies are the positive reinforcer that is likely to shape your behavior to finish homework on time every day. Interestingly enough, it has been found that positive reinforcers or positive reinforcement can be used as a learning tool as it is extremely effective. For instance, it has been found that one of the most effective ways to increase achievement in school districts with below average reading scores was to pay children to read, wherein paying acted as a positive reinforcer. Fryer in 2010 found evidence for this. This study showed that when second grade students in Dallas were paid $2 each time they read a book and passed a short quiz about the book, the reading comprehension of these second graders increased significantly. A negative reinforcement or negative reinforcer, on the other hand, is the removal of an undesirable stimulus, which is subtracted or removed following an action with the intention to increase the said behavior. Let's take an example from everyday life. For instance, you dislike getting stuck in traffic on your way to work on a Monday morning. So to avoid the traffic, you wake up early and leave early, and thereby you avoid all of that Monday morning rush. Negative reinforcers work to shape and modify behaviors because aversive stimuli tend to involve some type of discomfort, either physical or psychological. Behaviors are negatively reinforced when they allow you to escape from the aversive stimuli that are already present or allow you to completely avoid the aversive stimuli before they happen. Now, there are two forms of reinforcers. We have primary reinforcers and secondary reinforcers.
Even though we learn primary, secondary, or social reinforcers, but in here, we have learned 5 reinforcers: primary, secondary, positive reinforcers, negative reinforcers, and social reinforcers. But in here, please, in this video, it discuss about primary and secondary, as well as positive and negative. Let's see.
A primary reinforcer is any reinforcer that has some form of innate reinforcing quality. This means that the presence of the primary reinforcer by itself is enough for behavior modification in the context of operant conditioning. Some common examples from everyday life of primary reinforcers include food that you enjoy, money or monetary reward of some form, material possessions that you value, and some form of comfort such as sleeping or taking a nap. This is not an exhaustive list, but some of the most common types of primary reinforcers that we have around us in everyday life. Secondary reinforcers, on the other hand, has no inherent value and only has reinforcing qualities when linked with a primary reinforcer. For instance, when one gets a promotion in a job, that by in itself might not be reinforcing. But the fact that makes a job promotion more reinforcing is the salary hike or the primary reinforcer of monetary gains that comes with it. This is therefore an example of a secondary reinforcer. Let's understand the concept of punishment in the context of operant conditioning theory. Punishment is the opposite of a reinforcer that decreases, weakens, or eliminates the likelihood that a specific behavior will occur when the punishment is paired with a behavior. Punishments can be positive in nature or negative punishments. Positive punishment refers to adding an undesirable stimulus to decrease a behavior. For example, if a student is found texting during class, the teacher is likely to scold the student if this behavior occurs. In this example, the scolding, which is an undesirable stimulus, is the positive punishment, which is aimed at decreasing the behavior of texting during class. Negative punishment, on the other hand, refers to removing a desirable or pleasant stimulus to decrease a specific behavior. For example, if you want to reduce your social media engagement, you may set a rule for yourself that if I spend more than 20 minutes a day on my social media apps, I will restrict my access to my favorite sweets or treats. Since you like eating your favorite sweets, restricting them is undesirable. So to avoid this, you will decrease your behavior of engaging in social media apps for more than 20 minutes a day. All right, so we've learned a lot of different concepts in today's video, and it can seem fairly confusing. So in this last part of the video, let's quickly summarize and consolidate what we learned today. Remember that a reinforcer or reinforcement of some sort is any stimuli that aims at increasing a particular behavior. On the other hand, punishment does just the opposite by trying to decrease a particular behavior. Positive reinforcement or a positive reinforcer is any stimulus that is added to increase the likelihood of a behavior. On the other hand, a negative reinforcer or a negative reinforcement is any stimulus which is removed to increase the likelihood of a behavior. A positive punishment, on the other hand, is any stimulus that is added to decrease the likelihood of a behavior, while a negative punishment is any stimulus which is removed to decrease the likelihood of a behavior. You can pause the video at this stage and take a screenshot of this summary table in order to
So as proposed by this video, it's better to get a screenshot from this slide. It's somewhat very, very important for you, my dear student. It's like the entire summary of the behavioral theory. So therefore, I also kindly request from you to get a small a screenshot from this from this screen and keep it with you, because it's like the summary of the behavioral theory. That means not behavioral theory, operant conditioning. And it's important for you, really.
revise these concepts and consolidate the material from today's video at a later time. All right, that is the end of today's video. If you haven't already, subscribe to Brain Cyclopedia today.
Okay. So that's all about what we have discussed. So we came to the end of the second lesson. So practical application of a behavioral psychology theory as a manager. So this is the things what we have discussed at the end. So my dear students, what I have to tell you is like since we are following business management like psychology and business management degree program or a human resource management degree program, but anyhow it's coming under management discipline. So therefore the application of this behavioral theory or an operant conditioning for a manager is like, as a manager we have to decide whether we want to encourage or discourage a certain behavior of our direct reports or subordinates or peers who are at our same level or who are under control. So therefore, in order to encourage the behavior, we can use some kind of reinforcement, like either it can be positive or negative, but anyhow, if you want to encourage a certain behavior of your direct reports, you can you can get the support of the reinforcement. Then if you want to discourage the behavior of the person, like late attendance, like gossiping, then defamation or having conflict with the other people. So if you want to discourage that type of behavior, definitely you can get the support from the punishment. Whether it is a positive or a negative punishment should be decided based on the situation. But if you want to encourage a certain behavior, you can decide either you can take either positive or negative reinforcement. It's also up to the situation. You can decide whether I'm going to give positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. However, it depends on the situation. But anyhow, the reinforcement can encourage your peers or direct reports under your supervision. But anyhow, punishment can be used to discourage the behavior of your direct reports or your peers. So therefore, as a manager, you have to decide which one is more appropriate, either punishment or reinforcement. So because external behavior is somewhat very, very important. So through this punishment or reinforcement, you can make an impact of their future behavior. So if you are giving either reinforcement or punishment to either encourage or discourage current behavior, past behavior, then directly it effect of the demonstration of the same behavior in the future. So if you want to encourage the certain behavior, if you give reinforcement, then automatically it's like you wish to see that behavior in the future. That's why you are giving reinforcement. But if you give punishment for the past behavior, it's like you are discouraging that behavior which can be happening in near future or in future. So therefore, as a manager, since you have rewarding power, because under source of power, there are different kind of powers manager can enjoy, like say expert power, referent power, positional power. Then reward power is somewhat a very important power that you can enjoy. Since a manager can rewarding their direct reports or subordinates, using that rewarding power, you can decide whether you are going to encourage or discourage a certain behavior. So you can give either punishment or reinforcement by using your rewarding power. You can decide whether you are going to encourage or discourage a certain behavior. So please do remember under I believe under principles of management, you may have learned about these under leadership lesson, under the second important function under management, leading. So under leadership, definitely you have learned about the sources of power. So if you don't know sources of power, please try to search about the rewarding power from the internet. Rewarding power means like you have authority to give some kind of punishments or reinforcement to your direct reports. So using that power, you can apply this operant condition in important two aspects, punishment and reinforcement in the organizational context. So let's try to revisit the intended learning outcomes of this lesson. Actually, still we are at the second lesson. In the next day, I'll start environmental psychology, I believe, environmental psychology. And the fourth lesson is industrial psychology. Today evening, I have sent both handout to the LPEC along with the exam focused question on lesson number 3 and 4. So if you did not receive yet, please kindly ask from LPEC and they will provide you, since I have already sent the handout on third handout on environmental psychology and fourth handout on industrial psychology, as well as the exam focused question on lesson number 3 and 4 I have already sent today evening. So I hope you have already received. If not, ask from LPEC and try to get some printouts from there and keep it with you. In next day, we'll start lesson number 3. And after discussing lesson number 4, I'll be discussed when completing all first 4 lessons for the introduction to psychology. Then second one is the defense mechanism and behavioral theory. And third one is environmental psychology. Fourth one is industrial psychology. Then I'll be discuss exam focus question on lesson number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So let's try to revisit the expected learning outcome. So this initially I explained the defense mechanism, why defense mechanism should be used, because the imbalance between id and superego. I have explained 9 defense mechanisms which are unconsciously used by a person to balance the different demands of id and superego. Under defense mechanism, I have provided an additional supplementary document as well, in addition to the PowerPoint presentation. This PowerPoint presentation, and explain the 5 stages of personal development, like 5 sexual stages, which directly which should be go through by a person for the personality development, introduced by Sigmund Freud, like that mean oral stage, anal stage, phallic, latent, genital. I have discussed with you with example, and I have shown you a video as well. Then I explained the behavioral psychology theory. I explained what is meant by operant conditioning, what is meant by reinforcement, what type of reinforcement either can be positive or negative. Then punishment either can be positive and negative. I show you 2 different videos on punishment, one video on punishment, one video on reinforcement, and finally I have shown you the entire summary of the operant conditioning using 15 minutes video. So when you are the final video which I have shown, finally somewhat very important for you, it's like the entire summary of the operant conditioning. So please watch it carefully and try to add the important points which have been highlighted in those videos, and please add those points to your handout. It is needed. So don't believe that I have shown this video for the entertainment purpose. No, my dear student, I'm showing this for your own benefit, to provide an extra information to increase your power of the memory, because sometimes these words that I'm sharing with you is not sometimes maybe sometime may not be much more attractive, but not attractive mean it's needed, but anyhow sometimes I believe that when I'm showing the videos, it enhances your memory power. So therefore, try to watch this video carefully and write down the important points which have been highlighted in those videos, and add those to your handout. It is not necessary. It's a must requirement. I kindly request from you, because when I'm making my paper, I based on those important points that I have shared in the video, because I have already wrote down the important points which are already in this video in my handouts. So explain the then I explain the relationship between positive. In here, positive mean positive reinforcement, and between actually I explain the relationship between reinforcement, not relationship, reinforcement and punishment. Actually, I explain, I differentiate. What I have done, I differentiate reinforcement and punishments. As a, then finally we discuss as a manager how this operant condition can be used. What is the practical application of the operant condition or behavioral psychology theory to the work context? So please, in addition to this PowerPoint presentation, please refer the given supplementary document. Actually, in the supplementary document, defense mechanism and 5 psychosexual stages. These first two important aspects have been covered in the supplementary document. So you have to refer, in order to cover this second lesson, you have to refer the PowerPoint presentation, supplementary note, as well as the 3 videos that I have shared, 4 videos. 1 video on 5 stages of personal development, and 3 videos on, 1 on reinforcement, 1 on punishment, and the final one is on the entire summary of the operant conditioning should be visited. So therefore, please take that point into account. Then have a nice day and good night, and God bless you all.
Thanks, ma'am. Good night.